Okay, so now we're picking up with Zephaniah chapter 2, and we're going to look at verses 12 through 15. So there's like one little verse here that Zephaniah throws out about, "You also, O Ethiopians, will be slain by my sword." So Ethiopia and Egypt were really closely, connected at this point in time in history. And of course, this was south of Judah is where this location was. And so we see Zephaniah address the nations that are to the west of Israel, and those that are to the east of Israel, and those that are to the south of Israel. And now he's fixing to address Assyria. And the thing about him addressing Assyria here in verses 13 through 15 is that Assyria is the nation that God allowed to come in and judge the northern kingdom of Israel. It was the nation of Assyria that moved in and took over the northern kingdom, Samaria, during the reign of Hoshea, maybe? I can't remember. 722 BC was when that took place. And so at this point in time, Assyria is a huge, mighty power, and she feels safe and secure, and she thinks that she's got all her ducks in a row, and she's strong, and she's covered, and she's powerful. And at this point in time, Judah and Jerusalem, that the southern kingdom is feeling pretty puffed up too. I mean, they're doing pretty well also. And which is one of the dangers that God is addressing, is that they think that they're self-sufficient, and they forget that everything that they have is the result of God. And so now here in verses 13 through 15, what we have God reminding that even though he used the Assyrians and allowed the Assyrians to come in and judge his people, his children, he's also going to deal with the Assyrians for being able to be used by him to do that. Okay, so that's just how he rolls. It's so. All right, so he says in verse 13, "And he will stretch out his hand against the north and destroy Assyria, and he will make Nineveh a desolation. Parched like the wilderness, flocks will lie down in her midst. All beasts which range in herds, both the pelican and the hedgehog, will lodge in the tops of her pillars. Birds will sing in the window. Desolation will be on the threshold, for he has laid bare the cedar work. This is the exultant city, which dwells securely, who says in her heart, I am, and there is no one beside me. How she has become desolation, a resting place for beasts. Everyone who passes by her will hiss and wave his hand in contempt." So this Assyria is a nation that thinks that she is getting victory over all these nations because of her own power and her own, will. And she doesn't even realize, the nation, the kings, the people don't even realize that they've only been allowed this time of victory and power because God is using them to deal with his own people. And they're completely oblivious to that. And so they've lifted up in their own hearts, and they think that they are this mighty, awesome, thing of strength and power in their own right, in their own might. And God's fixing to make them very much aware that he is the one that raises up, and he is the one that brings down, and he's working all things in accordance to his will, to his purpose, to his plan, so that he can bring all of his people into the eternal kingdom of light. And so what we know now, this side of the timeline, is that God's about to raise up the nation of Babylon, and the nation of Babylon is going to deal with Assyria and is also going to deal with Judah. So everything that Zephaniah has prophesied has happened. But here's the thing. as I shared in the other video, everything that he is prophesying is just retelling all the things that God told them through Moses in Deuteronomy. It's just now he has specific names and nations attached to it. But it's the same message that God first gave to Moses before he brought the children of Israel into the promised land. So everything that Zephaniah is sharing is not this new word, this new plan, this new design that God is just dropping down on them. He is just showing them how the things that God said would happen are now happening, because you're now doing the things that he said not to do. And not only that, he also said that even though he's told them not to do them, he already knows that they're gonna do it. And so he's already made provisions not only for their judgment but for their redemption. You know, our God is awesome, y'all. He just is. And that's why we just have to stick with him and trust him, because it's a roller coaster. But we're only here for a short time, and he's got generations and generations and generations of things in the works that he's working out for his glory and for individuals, y'all. He cares about individuals, and he cares about nations. He cares about this earth. He cares. And yeah, it's pretty awesome. So the point of of Zephaniah chapter 2, what I'm hanging on to, and what I hope that you choose to hang on to, is Zephaniah 2 verse 3. Seek the Lord, all you humble of the earth, who have carried out his ordinances. Seek righteousness, seek humility. Perhaps you will be hidden in the day of the Lord's anger. Perhaps you will be hidden. We know that we will be hidden, because Zephaniah's word was before Christ came. And so even if we go through a suffering, we are still hidden in Christ. There is no perhaps. When Jesus came the guarantee. Pretty cool. So anyway, hope you're enjoying the study so far. And we'll begin with Zephaniah chapter 3 on Monday.